Public Schools Board of Education meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I need a motion to enter into executive session to discuss ratification of Teamsters and Mace and UPSU contracts.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Okay, we're in executive. So
Executive session.
are we going in over the
Money's ushering them out.
Awesome. McCoy, can we turn off the camera?
Okay.
Thank you. So sorry.
There are three key marking points over the timeline. The administration develops a working draft in September. The Finance Committee in October provides input, and then ideally before December, the Board of Ed will take formal action and adopt the budget assumptions. There's four components that I wanted to point out for the community and for the board members who maybe had not been a part of this process. One part of the assumptions is typically a continuation of current plans you have in place. Technology plans, curriculum plans, so forth. Another are any additional resource requests, whether they may be new positions, new programs, new hardware, and so forth. Additional one are non-budget impact items, but items that are prioritized by the administration that we just want to make sure that are highlighted in what might be perceived as a flat budget. So for example, our professional development budget may be flat year over year, but we like in the assumptions to make sure we highlight those key programs that we're focused in on. And finally, we like to have items in there that may lead, may not currently, but may lead to additional expenditures down the road. So the assumptions are put together by the administration, finance committee, formal board action. However, not all of them might make it into the budget that I would recommend to the board. And that's because during the administrative team's workshops, we're mindful of the economic climate. And even though there's assumptions in there, the board knows that we can always swap them out and swap them in the board's workshops. But the recommendation from the administrative team might not include all the assumptions. So that's just context because that's coming up right now. We have a couple new board members coming on board that will jump into the process, right as we're already knee-deep in it. So just wanted to get that out there. And Kirk, I don't know if you want to expand on it during the Finance Committee report, but I have a copy of the draft as well. I can wait until your report. I can hand these out now.
I'm fine if you want to hand them out now. And then I'd also, Tom, have a copy of the
timeline.
Copy of the
Budget.
the budget timeline.
Yeah, the calendar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What did I say? Calendar.
Yeah. So this is a draft. It's a big watermark there. There's already been changes, so just so you're aware. But this is where, at this point in time, where we were last Thursday.
Yes.
Yes.
Can you pass one down to Eric? Eric can have a folder. This is the budget calendar. I have a copy of it.
And you started
Do we have another one?
We need another budget.
Budget
Yes.
calendar.
What do you need, the calendar, the big calendar?
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. Is that it?
That's it.
And okay, that's it.
Any questions on the assumptions?
I have a question. In the past, when we've ultimately voted on the assumptions, and they've stayed in the budget through the admin workshop and
Yeah.
everything, it's been very difficult if we wanted to go back during our workshops to take anything out because we voted on them during the assumptions. That's always been the argument, or discussion point, whatever. So if there's something in here that we should take it out before we vote on it, or should that discussion happen at this point, or is it still understood by the full board that during the budget workshop, even if it's in the assumptions, it could potentially come out of the budget? I think I'm asking the board.
I think that point is the most important point, is just to emphasize that again, that just because it's in the assumptions and goes into the recommended budget, one of the three primary tasks of the board is to adopt the budget, and you have that chance at the workshop. I think it's a great point.
Okay.
So Happy, just so I understand, if you're looking at the calendar,
Yeah, it's just kind
On
of.
the
the
29th.
action by the Board of Ed on administration recommended budget, is that where you're talking about?
No, the assumptions.
So the assumptions, do you see that?
Yeah, it's on the 29th.
So on,
October
the-
29th.
on November 12th,
Yep.
adopt assumptions by Board of Ed. Say, for example, and this is,
Happy, look at October 29th.
Yeah, this is the one that I.
Discuss and review budget assumptions.
no, I understand that. That's not my point then, so
Okay.
I need to clarify it. So on November 12th, if we adopt this and say, this is a complete example, I have no feeling about this one way or another at this point because I haven't looked at it. But the, include funding to support Director of Guidance upgrade for a program coordinator position, number 11.
Yep.
Say we adopt that on November 12th, but so historically then during the budget workshop process, if we've then gone back and said, hey, we don't actually think we want this in here, we've always said, well, it was in the budget assumption, so it needs to stay in the budget. Is it clear amongst the board that that could come out again in the budget workshop process, or once we adopt it, it's good? Yes, it's clear? Okay. Just wanna make sure.
Yeah.
Very clear to me, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. It's not binding, the assumptions don't bind the board to anything.
Okay.
It's
just
just
so-
a jumping off point so that we can
It's a
dig deeper.
communication device, and just so that we put it together, and also things that were not in the assumptions, no, I'm sorry, things that are in the assumptions that don't make it past the administrative team,
Okay.
the board may say, wait a minute, we wanted that back in,
Okay.
of course.
So I have will we discuss this all together at more length?
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
When will that?
That's not even.
And it might change.
Like, we can go
Very
through,
happy.
like, I'd like to hear about each of these items in
That's
much
so
more
much
detail.
more.
That will happen on October 29th?
Yeah.
With numbers attached to it. I mean,
Yes, okay.
Much
yes, I
greater
wanna
detail.
hear lots more.
There's
Yes, that's
rationale
October
behind
29th.
it,
Yep.
great, which the finance committee has heard some of, but there'll be many
Yeah.
discussions.
In full board.
Full board.
Yes,
Great.
absolutely.
Any other?
Do you have a copy of the calendar?
No,
Oh,
I'm
sure.
sharing.
Take it.
Right here.
Okay, 'cause that's-
Any other
Since she
questions?
designated.
Thank you. No?
Happy had that one.
You want it, Happy.
She's totally
Okay, moving on.
Last,
matters?
just the last other matter, our well-decorated Director of Special Education has another fine accomplishment. She's been published in a recent journal article with, of all people, her co-author, her mom.
Oh, can you
Yes.
forward it to us?
I will, yes, I just got a copy of it the other day. Kathy Brooks used to teach science and was a science program coordinator at Polson for years. She retired. That's Liz's mom. And they co-authored a really cool article in a science journal. So I'll forward it to you. Yeah.
That's me, sign.
Science. Yes. Science.
Board member comments. Committee reports, curriculum.
Okay. We had a very good and busy meeting on the 8th, in which we took a look at the Science and Social Studies program, in particular something called Madison Explorations, which is a theme that's repeated in grades 2 and 4 and grade 6. It's an exploration, it's student-driven, it's not graded, provides some continuity. I think in this case, the themes were food insecurity and climate insecurity. Mr. Pags and Sarah Sandora gave the presentation. Emily, do you have any?
It was, as always, fascinating.
Very good. And so it's really nice to see that the students are working on one topic and you get these snapshots over time. All right, the second thing that we covered was the art curriculum launch, and this was presented by Bill Summer. And the takeaways there were that he's in charge of reimagining art, which in part means that he's working with Dan at CTE on the technology side, and he's emphasizing the use of a sketchbook among all students, not just art students, to kind of create a portfolio and use that. He's also very cognizant of changing technology in art. In other words, no more dark rooms, or very few dark rooms, things like that. The next item was a proposed student trip to Ecuador and the Galapagos. Can't pronounce that correctly. And, yeah, which is very cool. I believe that's the summer of 2020. Yeah. Or 21. Further, yeah. Yeah,
There's
21.
there's
21.
hand up in front of
Oh,
you.
good, thank you.
You knew that.
Yeah.
Chaperone.
So, that would be,
Thank you, Wendy.
yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm gonna, sorry, you go.
So you can take a look at the,
Thank you.
so Mr. Hibbert is leading the charge on that. There's a long lead time for planning, for funding, and it's handled by Educational Tours, which I think is our standard go-to group. And they do a very nice job.
Hey, Galen,
Yeah.
do you fly directly to Ecuador?
No, I don't know.
Is he giving us?
I don't know. I mean,
Itinerary.
you know, yeah.
Arrive in
Page
Quito,
seven.
yes.
Quito,
Yes,
yeah.
Quito.
Wow, that's
We'll probably
amazing.
go through Miami or something.
Something, yeah.
That's 11 days. Are
Yeah,
there
you want-
scholarships available? I know I ask the same thing every single time.
I don't, you know, we talked about funding, we talked about the chance to save and work for it, but I don't know that we mentioned scholarships.
Okay.
Which is something to look into.
Did they actively promote the credit for college?
Yeah, I
That's
noticed that
pretty
this is
cool. I haven't
credit.
seen that on
High school too.
Yeah.
yeah, but
That's
That's,
new.
Would we give a
I'm not
credit?
familiar with that. We haven't, no.
No,
like
we-
the.
We don't even have an
yeah,
avenue for it
No, we
right
don't
now.
have, like
Right,
that,
right.
but college potentially.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
There's a service component to it, I mean, as well as the tours.
Is he giving up his Spain? Fixed Spain?
Is he giving it up, you said? No, I just think that this is something that he felt, the service component in here really drew Josh in. If you take a look at the itinerary, there's some pretty interesting opportunities for kids from a service perspective. And just looking to change it up, he'll go back to Spain.
That's-
So exciting.
Yeah.
He very passionately speaks of the opportunity that, you know, for our kids that, you know, many of which would have an opportunity to see different demographics around the world. So he really, really is passionate about that.
Yeah. And I mean, as always, safety is paramount too. He's very careful to locate things near urban centers or near, you know, transportation hubs.
Yeah.
So,
And this is available to what grades? And
10th,
I think it's 10th, 11th, yeah.
it was, yeah.
okay.
So I will also follow up on that. Okay, and then the last item on the agenda is a big one, but it's down the road, and that is the upcoming new graduation requirements that will take into effect for this year's freshman class of 2023. This is state-driven, state mandated, and it has to do more with shifting some distribution requirements and going towards a competency or performance-based criteria. I'd like to put in a plug for our district, which is that we've been ahead of the curve with our 21st century capacities matrix, because that's the way the state and the country is going. It's something that we need to explore the implications of this shift, because I think there will be more down the road. But Tom, if you have anything to add to this.
Yeah, I think,
appreciate it.
you know, we've been working on this now for 6-7 years, and we're poised to take the portion of a graduate work in particular is where we're seeing a lot of national conversation, action at the state legislative level. And in Connecticut, we're being, you know, helped every week with conferences on the portrait of the graduate. We're so far down the road on that with our 21st century capacity. We're in great shape.
There's a lot more to come on this, right?
A ton, a ton. Yeah, we're just gonna do
This
dribs and
work-
dribs and drabs.
Legislation just passed. So
It's
there was
it's been on ice for probably 3 or 4 years, and it kept pushed off, and it finally passed this year. And the state is not providing a great deal of guidance right now. I think they're a little unsure of what it all means. So, but we're in good shape as far as the content and substance so far.
Yeah, I think 2 or 3 aspects of our district will really help with transition. One is that, you know, we've emphasized this vertical integration of themes from K through 12. And the second is that, you know, we're able to give our students a lot of choice in the classes they take in the sequence, and that will help towards the transition.
We have such a high standard for credits already.
Yeah.
That our kids will not only probably.
I think it's at 30?
It's 25.
25, and they can give as many as 30.
It could, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, thank you.
Can I go back to the previous topic? Do we take out the insurance?
We strongly encourage the kids to. They don't have to, we strongly encourage the kids to do that.
And most do.
Yeah, I'd say it's very high percentage that do.
Okay. But now, can the school not take out the, am I misreading this? Can the school not
Kids are still
take out the
covered.
insurance?
Yeah, gotta refresh my memory. I have to refresh my memory on this one. We talked about this last trip.
We
as
did
well.
talk about it
Yeah.
last trip, and I think last time it turned out that the district was self-insured.
Yeah.
But I was just looking at, under the global liability insurance plan, it looks like we could, as a district, participate in EF's global liability insurance.
I don't believe we need to because of our coverage already. I think that was where we ended, but I'll go
That's my
purely
recollection,
by
too.
memory.
Yeah, that's what,
But I can
that's
look
what I
in-
remember.
I can look into that.
No,
I was
just-
referring to the student insurance, if God forbid the trip has to be canceled for some reason.
Oh,
They
yeah,
don't
We
mind
can't
that.
salvage, yeah, we can't
Yeah.
salvage it for that. I
I
thought you
was
referred to
thinking
that.
more about liability.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You're a bond guy.
What?
You're a bond guy, you're reading the fine print.
Right.
This is good.
Any other questions?
Suspenders, you know.
That's right.
Thank you, Galen. Communications.
Yes, the Communications Committee met last week, October 8th, and this evening to discuss communications plans specifically regarding the Madison Schools Renewal Plan. And so you can stay tuned for more information forthcoming about that.
And the report, okay. Facilities.
No report because we have not had any meeting since the last board event meeting.
Finance Committee.
Finance adopted the budget calendar, of which you all have a copy. And then also, to a point that Tom raised, made a couple of comments. A couple of comments came up during the meeting about the current economic environment. Those relate to the fact that our debt servicing as a school district goes down by about 5.5% this year. And so if we were to propose a budget that was 2% higher than last year's, that would translate into a roughly 1.75% budget increase, taking the decrease in debt servicing into consideration. If we look at the increase in the aggregate valuation of property in the town of Madison, which serves as the basis, our tax base, from a property tax perspective, it's projected to go up by 65 basis points. So if we came in with a budget in line with the increase in the assessed valuation of property in town, we'd actually have a flat budget given the decrease in debt servicing. And so those are sort of some parameters, not viewed as hard guidelines, but some parameters to think about in establishing the budget. End of report.
Personnel Committee.
Yeah, the Personnel Committee met this evening for a brief period of time. We had an initial discussion on the framework, the content, and the application of a potential employee survey, bless you, that we could look at as a board to help us do our job as a board in our responsibilities towards the superintendent and those others that we survey, supervise, I should say. We will have a follow-up discussion. It was just an initial discussion to start working out what a survey like that would look like, where we would go, to look at examples where it's being applied and processes for it. We anticipate meeting again this month to continue those discussions. And a report.
Policy committee. Greg's not here. We have some,
Just four first readings.
yeah, 4 first readings that were in your packet. First reading of policy 5120.3.4, the management plan and guidelines for students with food allergies, glycogen storage disease, and or diabetes. Also first reading of policy number 5144.4, physical activity, undirected play, and student discipline. And first reading of policy 6146, graduation requirements, which for obvious reasons that Galen spoke of before need to be updated. And first reading of sunscreen application in school policy.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Can you tell me why we're seeing the physical, we reviewed this like a year ago. Is this a new policy?
Yeah, there were some
Different?
changes. Shipman had an updated policy, correct,
Yes.
based on some, was it legislative in July?
Yes.
Yeah, so Shipman had we switched over from CAPE to Shipman's policies, much more streamlined. And Shipman had some recommendations based on this last session.
Nothing drastic, just
Same.
language.
But
Spirit of it is the same.
basically, it's, the main thing that changed, as I recall from the policy meetings, my read are, the fact that you can't use the withholding of physical
Right, as
activity
punishment.
as punishment.
That was the last policy.
That was,
too.
I think it was just
I think it's just
language.
We
language.
took Shipman's language.
But it was about that, yeah, it was on that issue.
So there's no real, okay.
Substantive, no.
But we did, you're correct, on the policy committee last year, that was the spirit of what we were trying to accomplish last year.
Yes.
We did it in a very legal way with Shipman's policy this time.
Excellent.
We were ahead of the curve.
Any other questions? Learn Liaison, Learn has not had a meeting yet this month. Audience response to information presented. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second,
Yeah, they come from.
Violet, seconded.
Second.
Violet, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. I need a motion to approve the collective bargaining agreement between the Madison Board of Education and the United Public Service Employee Union, Madison Association of Educational Supportive Services, MACE, for the period of July 1, 2019 through June 30th, 2022.
So moved. Doesn't require a second because it's out of personnel.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the agreement between the Madison Board of Education and the Teamsters Local 443 for the period of July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2021.
So moved.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. I need a motion to adopt the Polson Chemical Hygiene Plan.
So moved.
Second.
I don't think it needs a second, right? It came out of
Came out
committee.
of,
All in favor?
Aye.
Or, sorry, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. I need a motion to approve $2,500 donation to the Daniel Hand Robotics Team by Mr. Leighton Lee.
So moved.
Second.
Good news, Erica.
Yeah, I went over to the company.
You did?
Yeah, and I got to talk with him a while. He used to be my Boy Scout leader, so I got my foot in the door using that. We had a
Excellent.
little meeting, and he talked about college and the future.
Yeah.
And the last thing that we talked about was donations. I was there for an hour and a half.
Wow.
Thank
Good
you.
for you.
That's very
Great.
generous.
You beat him up that long?
Well, I would like to thank Mr. Lee. It's a
Yes.
very popular and exciting program, and I know Jackie's involved in it as well too, in robotics at the high school?
I
just
think I've
you?
seen him come by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so thank you to Mr. Lee for
And a
that
shout out
very
for
generous donation.
Mr. Amenta also, a shout out for him. He does a
Yes.
great job running the program too, yeah.
Eric, did you go into the museum when you were there?
No, I did not, but I was in the main area where they showed some of their little trinkets from the past.
Yeah, it's fascinating, all the hardware that they've developed for the space program and other aeronautical uses.
Very cool. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. I need a motion to approve a donation of 5 sports prints from Mr. Ryan Volenick.
So moved.
Can you explain
Second?
Yeah, can-
We will, and discussion,
Second.
I need a second. Discussion.
So Mr. Volnak, just of his own generosity, had put together some pretty cool prints that he thought would be great for like a youth sports perspective. And, you know, the target audience is obviously your intermediate level, maybe an elementary level. But he just approached us and said, hey, I worked on these, would you put them up in the schools? Any interest? I'm like, of course. So we can't just take them, you have to take it as a formal donation. But I just thought they were adorable. So the principals will find some great spots. He has 5, these are 2 of them. It sounded like there may be more on the way.
Are they lithographs? What kind of prints
Ooh,
are they?
that's a really good question.
Because
They
when
look
he-
like
they're
it. Screen, he said they're
They're screens, I mean, when he let us like sell them for fundraising?
That's a really interesting idea.
I want them.
No, I know,
No,
not
yeah, well,
those, but
make-
like if you
make
made more
others.
prints.
Oh,
like-
gotcha, like for silent auction
Like
or.
the team
Yeah.
could sell them. to-
That's a really
for
interesting
That's a good
idea.
idea.
You know, I'll reach out to him, we have his contact info, yeah, we'll reach
Yes,
out, that's a
we
pretty
do.
good idea. Yeah.
I mean, if they're selling whatever they have, it's
Yeah.
better than selling popcorn.
So talented.
Right?
Yeah,
A
amen.
mattress.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much to Mr.
Yes,
Romanek,
Mr.
very
Romanek, yes.
talented, and we're grateful to accept that donation. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the September 24th, 2019 Board of Education meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I
Abstained?
have to abstain.
Motion carries. Any old business? Future agenda items? Meetings and dates of importance are attached. I need a motion to approve, to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain. And what's the other option? We're adjourned. Thank you.
45 minutes.
Wow.
Impressive.